There are stories that end in silence. Stories where injustice wins not because it was right, but because the people who suffered it were too afraid, too isolated, or too exhausted to keep fighting. This is absolutely not one of those stories. This is the story of a family who refused to bow, a family who refused to be intimidated, a family who refused to allow their children's dignity to be trampled by men who had mistaken their positions for power. This is the story of the Akushies and how they won. When the harassment began, when the retaliation came, when it became clear that adults at Baldock Town Youth Football Club were prepared to target children to protect themselves, Ossie and Akushie made a decision that every parent in their position must make. They chose their children first. Christian and Maria did nothing wrong. They showed loyalty, talent, and character. And they were cast out by adults who should have known better, protected by adults who chose convenience over conscience, and ignored by an institution, Hertfordshire FA, that was supposed to be a safeguard. But the Akushies did not allow that rejection to become their children's story. They moved quickly. They moved with purpose, and the community responded. Not the closed Baldock circle that had turned its back, but the genuine community, the one built on fairness and real care for young people. Hitchin Town Youth FC welcomed Christian. Hitchin Bells welcomed Maria. Two properly run clubs, two environments where children are valued, developed, and respected. And the children flourished. Christian grew not just as a footballer, but as a young man who learned through his parents' example that dignity is not granted by institutions, it is carried within. Maria shone with courage and maturity that belied her age. She proved that exclusion, no matter how deliberate or cruel, cannot extinguish the light of a child who is supported and believed. Their flourishing is the heart of this story, because when children rise above the actions of adults who targeted them, it exposes something the perpetrators never intended to reveal. The problem was never the children. The problem was always the adults who went after them. While the children rebuilt their joy elsewhere, Ossie went to work. Not with anger, not with threats, not with the tactics that had been used against his family. He fought with discipline, with evidence, with the law, and with dignity. He showed his children and anyone paying attention what it truly means to stand up for your rights, that you do not need to shout to be powerful, that you do not need to lower yourself to the level of those who wronged you, that the truth, when documented carefully and pursued without fear, is more than enough. What followed was 3 years of litigation, 3 courts, 3 sets of defendants, 3 institutions compelled to answer for their behavior. And the Akushies did it without expensive legal representation. No barrister, no solicitor, no legal team standing behind them. Just a family, a laptop, a body of evidence, and an absolute refusal to be persecuted. The legal victories speak for themselves. Against Baldock Town Youth Football Club, the family succeeded on claims of discrimination, harassment, racism, and sexism. The conduct of Juan Cowell, Sean Smith, and Jason Kitchener was scrutinized. Breaches of the Data Protection Act and GDPR were established. Against Jason Kitchener personally, the family succeeded resoundingly with claims of discrimination, harassment, and defamation. A man who had targeted children, who had lied, and who had reached for stereotypes and racism as weapons, was held individually accountable. Against Hertfordshire FA, the family succeeded with the litigation for failing to address the discrimination and misconduct of the dinosaurs at Baldock Town Youth Football Club, and for multiple further breaches of GDPR and the Data Protection Act. 3 defendants, 3 defeats, 3 institutions held to account. The combined estimated cost to those defendants exceeded £150,000. Let that figure sit for a moment. £150,000. Not spent on children, not on football development, not on safeguarding, not on any of the purposes these organizations claimed to serve. Spent on defending the indefensible, on protecting egos, on attempting to silence a family who refused to be silent. They burned money instead of taking accountability. Then they burned yet more money to run away from judgment with significant settlement sums. Sums much more costly than the simple apologies and acknowledgement of wrongdoing originally demanded by Ossie. This is what happens when institutions lose sight of their purpose, when men of middling authority mistake that authority for entitlement, when racism, fragility, and the belief that certain families can simply be brushed aside collide with a family who will not be moved.
There were moments designed to break them. Witness statements emerged that proved Jason Kitchener and Sean Smith had lied about a key incident, statements that Baldock Town Youth Football Club and Hertfordshire FA worked to suppress. Pressure was applied. One witness attempted to withdraw. Others who had once been neutral chose the path of least resistance and turned away. The Akushies did not flinch. They used the legal process with precision. They forced disclosure. They followed procedure. And when the truth was finally exposed, the lies that had been constructed so carefully collapsed under the weight of their own contradictions. This is what happens when you record everything from the beginning, when you document every interaction, every message, every meeting, when you refuse to allow intimidation to rewrite what actually occurred. Evidence does not forget. Evidence does not feel pressure. Unlike the false friends and weak, morally bankrupt bystanders, evidence does not abandon you when things become uncomfortable. There is a particular satisfaction in what happened next. The individuals and institutions who targeted this family had solicitors, lawyers, and barristers. They had experience navigating formal processes. They had the resources that are supposed to make the difference. And they were beaten by a father with a laptop, a determination to read the law, and the discipline to follow it without deviation. That is not a minor footnote. That is the point. Because for every family that is told the system is too complicated, that the professionals are too powerful, that the cost of fighting back is simply too high, the Akushie case stands as a direct and documented answer. The system can be navigated, the law can be learned, and the truth, pursued with patience and rigor, does not require wealth to win. So, from this family to anyone watching who is facing something similar, here is what was learned across 3 years of this fight. Stay calm and stay in the right. They will attempt to characterize you as aggressive regardless of how you conduct yourself. The answer is not to become what they accuse you of. The answer is to be so measured, so documented, so procedurally correct that their characterization falls apart on its own. Record everything, from the very first incident, every message, every meeting, every conversation where possible. Lies are fragile. They rely on the absence of evidence. Remove that absence, and the lie collapses. Know what you are fighting for, and never lose sight of it. Not every battle needs to be fought, but the battles you choose to fight, fight them fully, fight them with purpose, and never allow the weight of the process to make you forget what started it. Understand that at the beginning you will feel alone. When you stand up to a closed circle, that circle will close tighter. Some who witnessed what happened to you will go quiet. Some who knew the truth will choose comfort over conscience. Let them. Those who leave you in that moment were never truly standing with you. Protect your children above everything else. They are watching how you respond to injustice. They are learning what it means to face difficulty with integrity. long after the legal proceedings are over, they will carry what you saw you do. And finally, believe that justice is possible. Not guaranteed, not fast, not comfortable, but possible for those who refuse to bow to it. The Akushie case is now concluded. What began with 2 children being pushed out of a football club by adults with grievances they chose to take out on a family ends here, with accountability, with documented victory, with the names of those responsible attached permanently to the record of what they did. Baldock Town Youth Football Club, Jason Kitchener, Sean Smith, Juan Cowell, Hertfordshire FA. These are not allegations. These are solid legal outcomes reached across 3 courts over 3 years by a family that was told implicitly and explicitly that they did not have the standing to challenge what had been done to them. The middle-aged men, the closed ranks, their minions and enablers. They were all wrong. Christian continued to enjoy football more than ever. Maria, still playing, enjoying, and flourishing in football more than ever. They are doing so in environments that deserve them, surrounded by people who actually understand what youth sport is supposed to be. And the family that fought for them, that spent 3 years building and vigorously prosecuting cases from the ground up, that stood in courts before high court judges without representation and came out the other side with successes on every front, that family is still here. Beyond all the financial spoils of victory, the enduring success is in the family's collective learnings, not only about the law and their rights, but about their own strength and integrity, tested against the fury and fire of a snarling, out-of-date, small-town old boys club. For this experience, the Akushies are stronger, clearer, and ready, should it be needed, to do it all again. This is the triumph. This is the legacy. This is the Akushie case.